Hey kids, it's JJ again. How are you on this fine Saturday night? This is my Friday night rant, a day late because I had some work stuff this week. I was stuck at Honda Automotive for a few days and had to do some work. So here I am, catching up. What I wanted to start off with, I want to do a shout out to my buddy Explicit FPV. I'll put a link to his page right here. Very cool guy. His name's Chris. He did an absolutely hysterical fucking video this morning, and I thought it was just awesome. He and I talk pretty much every day, and I think he and I are definitely kindred spirits in a lot of ways. I don't know if that's good for him or bad for me, but anyway, shout out to you, brother. This is my Friday night rant, and we're going to, I'm going to bitch about a couple little things just for fun, and then we're going to talk about frames and frame selection and what should you pick when you're doing a frame and things like that. One of the things I like to start out with just for fun is, talking about Joshua Bardwell just because he's funny. I watched I was driving home from a customer's last night, and I popped on YouTube in my car, and I'm sitting there driving, and I'm how YouTube comes up with all that shit about, things you might be interested in. Well, YouTube doesn't know me very well because it came up with Joshua Bardwell, and he was reviewing the Eachine EV100s, those goggles, whatever. And you should watch it. It's actually kind of a funny video. But anyway, I think he might be loosening up. I give him props. He tried to be funny. Unless he's wearing a dress, he's not really that funny to me. But anyhow, he made one of those shameless plugs about Patreon or his products, and the longer you watch my videos, the more I get paid, which I just think is, well, anyway, doesn't matter what I think. But anyway, he's going on about these EV100s from Eachine, and those are entry-level goggles, which is fine. They're not Fat Shark killers, which is fine. I think Fat Sharks are stupid overrated, and you can tell he just loves Fat Sharks, which a lot of people do. Fair enough. That's fair enough. But you can't even compare the two goggles at all. An EV100, I think it's EV100, is like $100 or $120 or something like that, and Fat Shark's like $500 or whatever. Kind of ridiculous. But anyway, one of the things he bitched about was the IPD adjustment, and my goggles aren't out here. But anyway, that's the distance between your eyes. And he's like, well, you can't put in the lenses, the corrected lenses like Fat Shark. Okay, dude, I'm almost done with my Joshua rant. Dude, take that Patreon money, okay, and take all your sponsor money, and here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to Walmart, and you can get AccuView contacts, right, for like $20 a box, which you might be able to afford with all that Patreon support you get, and get some fucking contacts and wear those goggles, and you'll be fine. Because one of his bitches, and that's a joke, obviously, but one of his bitches was, these just don't work for my eyes, and my prescription's too severe, and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh my fucking God, really? I'm grayscale colorblind, and I can see about that far in front of my fucking face without glasses or contacts. You know what I do? I wear contacts, and I put on my goggles. And I have a different set of goggles, my Boss Cams, I can wear with glasses if I so choose. But it's like, really, dude? I know you think the world revolves around you, but, you gotta appease the masses. And I want to meet his wife. I actually want to send her a gift certificate for like some steakhouse or something, because any chick that can wake up and hear that voice every morning has got my vote. That chick must be awesome. But anyway, let's get back to bigger and better things. All my stuff, this is part of my rant. This is just bullshit, as you guys all know. All my stuff came in for the Zebra FPV build, except the flight controller. Fucking A, really? The one thing I need. So I'm going to go over it real quick. Exciting stuff. The Zebra FPV build. Now, I want Blackhawk to do this build video with me because I just think it'd be fun to have two people doing it and just kind of fuck around and joke. But just to give you guys an idea, and for you, brother, out there in Sandland, and I apologize for the country. We should have made it a glass parking lot, but it is what it is. We're putting a Hellbender 204, which is one of my favorite frames. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. This is not a review. This is just what's coming up, hopefully this week. My buddy Blackhawk's getting married October 1st. Congratulations, but there's nothing sadder than two single people dying. That's funny shit. Anyhow, so I'm hoping this flight controller comes in and we can get this build done before he goes on his honeymoon and all that crap. And we're using the Brother Hobby Returner R2s. That was right? Motors, got 4 of those, obviously. A Foxeer camera. A switchable Eachine 25 200 600 milliwatt transmitter. 30 amp BL Heli S ESCs. Frame, obviously. He's on his own for his receiver because he has a Taranis. I don't run Taranis. I'll put in one of my receivers to test it and tweak it and all that good stuff. But anyway, and we're waiting for the DYS F4 all-in-one flight controller. As soon as that pig's in, bam, we're done. We're building this bitch. Okay, so that's the FPV build for the Zebra, the parts, and I'm super psyched about that. Can't wait to build that thing, check it out, tune it up, and give it to him. I think it's going to be super, super fun. And I actually got one of these. I was thinking about sending this to Bardwell. I'm not sure what these are. These are just little flashlights you can get at Lowe's, whatever. And it's got a headband. You know, you put it on Yoda's head there, whatever. And it's stupid bright. I mean, look at, bam! You know, LED, and it has multiple levels and strobes. So you can have a coronary. You know, in my field, what we call these, you know, when somebody puts one of these things on their heads, this is just a joke, guys, but we call this a cocksucker landing light. Ha! That's funny. Anyway, okay. So what I want to talk to you guys about was frames. And this is, you know, I've watched YouTube for a long time. I learned just about all of my FPV and quad building stuff just by myself. There's been a few times where I've watched YouTube and things have helped me out, and certain people have helped me out, and I've seen some really good advice. And as much as I bash on Bardwell, he does have some good stuff, and he's very smart at PIDs. I mean, just watch his channel. He does a PID video like every week. You know, it's his niche, I guess. Far better than I am at it. I give him props. But anyway, you see frame reviews, and I just posted a frame review on the Hellbender 1104 that I just showed you just, you know, a couple hours ago. And you see all these things, well, this is a great frame because of this and because of that. And really, you don't ever see anybody just do a review on frames. And why should you pick a certain one? Why should you not pick a certain one? Why is thicker carbon fiber better than thinner carbon fiber? So this is kind of for mostly beginners, but maybe if you've been around the track for a while, you'll pick something up from this. I am not the all-knowing. I am not the Bardwell of everything. So this is just my take on frames. So I'm going to go over certain characteristics of frames that make them good and make them bad. If you've seen my Hellbender video, there are 2 versions of Hellbender. So let's start with that. Okay, you got the Hellbender V2, which looks like this. Okay, notice, solid, nice thick carbon. And the Hellbender V1, see all those holes. Now, the thing that's nice about the holes, it is lighter, but that's where it stops. Whenever you auger holes into carbon fiber, you make things weaker. I have destroyed Hellbender V1s. I have not destroyed a Hellbender V2. So that's one gimmick about that. With carbon fiber, I mean, lighter isn't always better, kids. And people think, oh, the more rigid a frame is, and you've probably heard me harp on this before, the more rigid a frame is, the better it is. That is not true either. If you put your meter on continuity, and you test your frame, hear that? That's continuity. Bam! All right? That means you have got a true carbon fiber frame. Carbon fiber, or at least a laminate over the top. If you want to test the guts, you can go in the center like this, center like this, bam. Now we know we're good all the way through. Carbon fiber is conductive, so if there's ever any question, I think it was the Wizard, the 2017 Wizard frame, when it first came out, wasn't all carbon fiber, and people threw a fit about it, and, you know, whatever. Don't even buy a frame unless it's carbon fiber, guys. Seriously, this frame here costs like 38 bucks or something like that. Just do it right the first time, and you're going to have a lot less problems. Let's see, what can we talk about with frames? You got your True X. Something like this. What's the difference between, and like I said, I'm not an authority. This is just to help some of you guys out. What's the difference between a race frame and a freestyle frame? Well, race frames, you want the path of least resistance, right? So if your arms are really, really narrow, this is reasonably narrow, but they make them smaller than that, obviously. Let's go take our good old mic here. And what do we got? 15.5. Bam. Okay. On a Hellbender, 22.89. So 23. This is freestyle. This is geared more for racing. Now, I wouldn't race with a frog. I'm not a racer, by the way, but I know what it takes to do racing. And I would race with this before I would this. The reason being, think about your pitch. Wind resistance. Bam. Okay. You've got less intake here, or less resistance on your arms than you do with one of these. So this one is definitely going to cut through the air much, much better than something like this. So that's a good thing if that's what you're into. This, like the frog I just showed you, that would be a really good all-around frame. If you're racing with buddies, or you want to do freestyle and stuff like that. And Hellbender too. I mean, really, you're talking about nominal amounts of resistance in the air and things like that. The rigidity. This is another thing that bugs me. People will do frame reviews. Let's grab that Hellbender. People will do a frame review and they'll be like, look at that, man. It's solid as a fucking rock. Bada bing. No, that's not the case. I said this once before in one of my other videos. If you look at a building, like, I'm from Chicago. You go up Sears Tower. Sears Tower is moving like this, right? My old man used to live on the north end of Lakeshore Drive. And he lived in a 30-story high-rise. And he was on, like, level 27 or some shit like that above Lakeshore Drive in Chicago. And you'd be sitting in his living room, and you would see that fucking chandelier above his kitchen table going like this. And the fucked up thing about it is the chandelier is the only thing not moving. The whole building's moving. That's a good thing. The reason being, you have to be able to flex. It's like earthquakes. You have to be able to absorb those harmonics or those vibrations or motions in order to sustain your tensile strength, or that's actually your elasticity, to sustain standing up. Same thing with frame. Think about it, guys. Would you fly with a glass frame? No. That's why carbon fiber is good. It's very, very rigid, but it also flexes, and this is extremely strong. But you want some flex, okay? You do not want it all fire rigid like these guys are like, oh, see, this has got a little bit of flex. Here's the reason why. If you crash, you want, like in the automotive world I work in, you want a little bit of absorption of that inertial energy, okay? If you have a if your carbon fiber frame is nothing but tensile strength, and you hit something, it shatters, okay? That is bad, all right? So you want a little bit of elasticity, but you don't want something that's just going to flex all to fucking hell. I don't know if I've got a frame that's flexy. Here's Poor Boy. This is your good old-fashioned QAV 220 type of frame. This guy's a pig too, and it's actually pretty robust. But this one probably does flex the most out of any frame I've got. I don't know if you can see that. It ain't much. But, and this is my Poor Boy, right? This is my beater. And if you have too much vibration in your carbon fiber, what'll happen is harmonics, right? Because none of us, most of us, don't balance our props on mini quads. I'm sorry, normal quads. On drones or bigger things we will, but micro quads and normal quads like these, we usually don't balance our props. If you did, you'd be balancing props all fucking day and you'd never fly. So what happens is, if you have an unbalanced prop a little bit, what'll happen is those vibrations will transduce down into the frame and cause harmonics in the frame. Then those harmonics in the frame will go into your gyro, and once your gyro gets it, all of a sudden now you see motors spinning up faster, slowing down faster. Well, they don't slow down faster. Your motor's overheating, all sorts of crazy shit, twitching and things like that. So you got to find that balance of rigidity versus elasticity. 90% of the frames I've got fly fine, or I'm just such a bad pilot I don't know any better, which, I'm not going to lie to you, probably isn't far off from the truth. I'm not the best pilot in the world, not even in the, probably not the best pilot on the fucking block, right? But that is one thing you need to look for. Don't look for all out rigidity, like, oh my gosh, this thing, you can step on this fucker. Let me give you an example. Hang on. Here is an RMRC Goby. Okay, this is what we stripped down, or I stripped down, to create this guy. Bam! Love this bird. All right. So this Flynoceros. So the Goby, I don't love this frame. I don't like it because it's a very narrow top plate. It just looks funky, and I know you shouldn't base it off of looks. Maybe I'm being vain, but whatever. But this frame is just a fucking swinging dick. Look at this. Look at this thing. Bam! 5.2, and the width on this thing. Look at that shit. 25 mil wide? What's a frog? I can't remember. I've been drinking. 15. This is 10 mil wider than a frog, and these things are tough as nails too. That's a frog, in case you didn't know. Now, this probably would be a good beginning. You can't bend that shit, kids. I mean, you got to get some Bardwell sand on that shit. That ain't gonna bend. All right. So, is this good for beginners? Probably. Does it have any elasticity? No. This will probably break before Hellbender will. But it depends on the crash, and that's another thing people don't take into consideration. I have smashed up and destroyed more micro frames this summer than I have all of my normal frames combined, because I fly over asphalt, I fly over concrete because I'm flying in my neighborhood and whatever, and you get into something like the Toad, you know, that's reasonably, look at, that's pretty flexible, right? Even the Fly Egg, love the Fly Egg. So I got the 130s, the 100s, whatever, my own builds, but nonetheless, not stupid strong. But it's the impact of the crash. If you crash a Hellbender into the grass at full speed, that grass is going to absorb a lot of that inertial impact. Whereas cement, obviously, you guys know all those theories. It's not rocket science. So don't go out looking for the strongest frame in the fucking world, because that's not where it's at. You want flexibility. But every situation is different. I've had frames I've completely beat to death, and they just keep on running. And I've had frames where I hit that shit just fucking right, and bam, it just shatters. That's no good. But it's kind of hit and miss on what you fly with. The other thing people talk about a lot with frames is the chamfered edge. Okay? Now, what you can do, I think this might be the only quad I even have that came with chamfered edges. Hellbender, kinda, not really. I'm looking up here at the rest of mine. No, they're all crap. They're all good frames in my opinion, but none of them are chamfered. Realistically, I hear these guys talking, and I don't know if these people all are a bunch of fucking sissies or what, but, oh, you don't have to worry about cutting yourself on this frame. Really? I've built well over 100, 150 quads and never cut myself on a frame. Oh, what are you guys doing with these fucking things that you're cutting yourselves? I think that's really kind of gay. But anyway, the one thing you do have to think about with a chamfered frame, if you have wires coming around, okay, rubbing back and forth from the vortex of the blades can cut your wires. Yeah, okay, whatever, that's grasping, but so I don't know why you would run wires underneath, but some people do. Battery straps, same thing. If you have a really sharp edge here and you crash hard enough and you've got a really good battery on there, yeah, or I'm sorry, really tight, it'll cut your battery strap. I've destroyed a zillion battery straps, no big deal. But really, these people, oh, you cut yourself. Get into a different fucking hobby, man. Go collect stamps or some shit. You can cut yourself on these. You're worried about that? Really? I'm sorry, that's just kind of gay. Here's a tip. One thing that you've seen me do, and it adds a couple grams of weight, but I use this Sherlock tape. Bam, that bristle block shit on every quad I own. From the micros, look, bam, little tiny bit there, to the macros, bam, it's there. And I put the other side on the battery. I do not use battery pads, ever. I do not own a quad, and I've got like 27 or 26 of them. I use this stuff. Okay, here's why. I can literally stick my battery to that without a strap and fly. and it will fly. I have flipped a few times where the batteries come undone, but you know, you should still use a strap. But here's a good tip. If you're using Sherlock, this type of stuff, and it's very, very light. Let's get out the scale. People are gonna poo-poo me. It fucking adds too much weight. Let's double this weight. Let's call it 1 gram. Okay. Look, bam, nothing. And that's bigger than I normally use. I usually use about that big for a 1300 milliamp 4S. Now, you put that shit on the back of your battery, put that shit on the back of your bird, slap your battery to it, and then stick your, here, let me grab a battery. Stick your battery in there. Let me grab a smaller battery. Junky old tattoo. Bam, like that. And then gently pull up your battery strap. Now look, see that gap I've got in there? That's all you need. Because look at that shit. All right? If you crash, what you want is you want that battery to move, give a little bit, if at all possible, but still stay connected. Pretend that's connected. You still want that to stay connected so your lost model alarm or your beeper goes off. Okay? If you have a little, that's probably a little bit too much, but if you have a little bit of slack in your battery strap, you will not break battery straps. When you pull that shit tight as a thong on a hooker, yeah, the shit's gonna break when you hit the ground. So if you're using Sherlock, like I do, I mean, check that shit out, son. Bam, done. I use that. That stuff is worth its weight in gold. Get it, use it. If you use a battery strap and this tape, this Sherlock tape stuff, son, trust me, you need the coming of God to get that shit off. I'm telling you right now, good math. So yeah, that's what I would do with that. But if you're not using Sherlock and you still have to go really tight with your battery straps, you might want to take a Dremel tool or a piece of sandpaper or whatever and just chamfer the edge from where your frame goes into that, where your strap goes into that frame. That's my recommendation for that. I actually flew for a year, I'm going to say, and never ever even used a battery strap. And people thought I was crazy. They're like, you don't use a battery strap? I'm like, fuck no, you know, I'm fine. I never lose a battery. But I would lose batteries on crashes, and that got annoying. But when I started getting into a little bit more high performance builds, then it became, yeah, I would do really high speed flips and spins and shit, and yeah, I'd lose the battery and that would be bad. So there you go. Excuse me. Let's see, what else can we talk about with frames? That's definitely something you want to look for. The other thing you want to look for is how good of a builder are you? And this is something that people overlook. You might be Johnny Cockstar with the fucking soldering. You know, I've been soldering since I was like 8. But if you get into a build that is stupid tiny, Purple 215, not a whole lot of room in there. Hellbender, look at that, bam, that's a huge amount of room. That's something to consider. If you're new to building, don't give yourself a stroke. Okay, here's a D2, what is this, D215 or whatever. I love this frame, I think it's really neat. It's like a big fly egg, right? Look at that shit, son. I mean, seriously, you can go grocery shopping in that thing. That's awesome. Get a frame like this. If it's your first, second, or third build, get a nice, wow, look at that room. I could rent out a room in that shit. Get something that's big and start honing everything down. That is a big factor, okay, I think. You get into something, this isn't actually too bad, the Flynoceros. I'm also using one board, so it's pretty nominal. Hellbender, very large. Purple 215. The frogs even are a little bit tight. They're not hateful. So that's something to consider too. Consider your depth of field, or in your width, your height. Height is a big factor. This thing is a bitch, actually, to get all your guts in. Now, if you're using an all-in-one board, all-in-one FC, this is a dream to build. I was a dumbass and I used parts out of another quad, so I have an all-in-one ESC and a flight controller, and it was like, yeah, you know, it's like 10 pounds of shit in a 1 pound bag. You know, a little bit more difficult. So, in the grand scheme of things, think about that. Think about how much building room do I have and how skilled am I, and be honest with yourself. Don't think, oh, well, if he can do it, I can do it. whoever that may be. Yeah, no, it's much, much better to have a bird that's easy on maintenance and easy to build than something that's just a fucking nightmare every time you have to touch it. What quad was that? I had one. Oh, it was the Goby. Where is that damn frame? I don't know. It's in here somewhere. My Goby frame was like that. You know, I when I first built it, I built it poorly. I didn't build it the way I should have. And it was just like, oh my God, I don't even want to fly the fucking thing, because if something breaks, it's going to take me 6 hours to fix it. Don't do that. You know, pick something that's user friendly, and you're going to be much, much happier with that. Let's see, what else could we talk about with these? Elasticity, something to look at on the bottom. A lot of times you'll see a cross. I don't think I've got any frames that, no, that's not one. Frames that are really, really cheap. Maybe the Poor Boy? Yes, Poor Boy. $12 frame. Can't bitch, right? But you see that slot right there? Okay? Those are so you can run smaller motors. You can run real cheeseball motors on this fucking thing. But what this does, essentially, is that weakens, kind of like when I was talking about the Hellbender V1, that actually negates the strength of your frame. So if you ever have the opportunity to check that out, try to avoid this. This is not something that you want, unless your intention is to use motors that small. Most decent frames don't have this. This is a $12 crapola Poor Boy frame, so I don't care. I'm good with that. I knew what I was getting. That's what I smash into stuff. So it's all good with that. What else can we look at with frames? Obviously cost. One of the things that I really pumped about with the Hellbender and the Flynoceros frame was the warranty. And you know, you look at a Hellbender's 40 bucks, which isn't going to break most people's banks, right? I built a few of them. I think this one I'm building for Zebra is going to be my 4th Hellbender. This is a Hellbender. And, you know, I can do it with my eyes shut. If you can't build that, son, you need better glasses. You need those Joshua Bardwell contact lenses or something. Oh, wait, he doesn't wear contacts. That's right. He hasn't figured that out yet. But what I'm getting at is this is a $40 frame, okay? The Frog, which I love, I think I got 2 of these. The Frog is a, what is that, $25, $30 frame. 35, I don't know what it was. But anyway, this has a lifetime warranty. Bam. If you destroy this fucking thing, forget about it. They'll send you a new bit. The Flynoceros, $80 frame, a little bit more expensive. Most people don't want to spend that kind of money on a frame. Now, I'm telling you right now, I will be building another one of these because I just think it's the most awesome thing ever made. But it, again, has a warranty. So if I destroy it, I pay like, what was it, 15 bucks, 20 bucks or something like that. And they send me a whole new frame, not just the part. You send in your old broken frame, you give them 20 bucks, they send you a whole new frame. That's pretty good stuff. That's why, you know, you got to draw that line. What's a better thing to do? Buy a bunch of cheap ones or buy a really good one? And I'm kind of in the middle on that too. I love my cheap frames. My Purple 215 was like 24 bucks. I think it's fucking awesome. It flies great. It was fun to build. It looks wicked cool. In case you don't know, a Purple 215 is the same thing as a Hippo, I think. And I just think it's a tits little frame. I think it's cool. And 24 bucks. If I destroy it, fucking who cares? Now, let's talk about the difference between, let me get rid of some of this crap. Let's talk about the difference between a unibody, which is what the Purple is, and Poor Boy actually is, and a non-unibody. Let's take a Frog. This is the Frog Lite, I think. Now, here's the difference. Frog, arms are removable. You've got a bottom plate here, a top plate, and the arms, and the canopy, obviously, but we don't care about that. Then you take the Purple 215, or a lot of other ones I've got, because I like unibodies. I'm kind of backwards from most people. And notice, nice, smooth, dynamic. Now, here's the pros and cons. If you build a unibody, it's lighter and easier to build. You don't have to deal with lining up bolt holes and all other bullshit. It is lighter and it's easier to build. Well, I wouldn't say easier, but it's faster. Now, The nice thing about an arm, well, the bad thing, let's go back to the drawbacks. The drawback is if you break one, you're fucked. You have to replace the whole body, or the whole bottom plate. Anyway, if you've got a multi and you break an arm, hopefully you bought from a reputable frame, and you can replace just that arm, okay? That is the pro to that. Let's use the Good Frog with Sunny Skies. The same principle, exact same frame. I like this frame. Now, it's heavier, but you can replace one arm. You break an arm, you replace an arm. But you also have to think about how much I pay for the fucking frame. If I paid $20 for the frame and an arm cost me $6, do you really care? What's an extra couple bucks? Just buy a whole new bird and you're done. All of this stuff, a lot of the stuff in quads is subjective. Goggles, totally subjective. Do they fit your face? I have a face like a spear, right? Do they fit you? Are they comfortable? Do they fit your eyes? Do you need contacts? Do you not need contacts? Frames are the same way. And it's not really how they fly. In all honesty, I probably couldn't tell you the difference between these two flying. I really couldn't. I mean, they weigh the same, pretty much. So it's subjective. It's like, well, this one was a fuck ton easier, well, a little bit easier to build than this one. But I think this one looks cooler than a frog. I really do. I mean, this frog's badass. You know, it's kind of cool. But I think this is just tits. I think that thing's cool. So that's something to consider too. The other thing to consider is your weight. Now, is lighter better? Not necessarily. Again, and there's been a big dispute on the internet about this. I know Bardwell did something on it, and a couple other cats did stuff about weight and flying, and faster is better, and slower is better, and, you know, whatever the case may be. I'm a physics guy myself. I do deal with a lot of physics in my job, moment of inertia, relativistic quantum mechanics, things like that crap. But I have found for me, now I'm a bag of ass pilot. You know, that's why I don't use GoPros on my quads. If you guys want to watch somebody really good fly, you're not tuning in to watch me. Trust me, okay? So I do most of my videos through DVR, through the FPV camera. Fuck it, I don't care. But I tend to like heavier quads. I have built ultralight fucking quads. Ultralight. And I really, it's scary to me. It doesn't seem like it has the moment, what we call moment of inertia. It doesn't have that follow through. I only fly freestyle. You know, I go through trees, I do stuff like that, but I don't race gates. I don't worry about clocking at 90 miles an hour. Do I have a quad that goes 90? Probably. Do I know that? No. But what I'm getting at is, for me, again, another subjective thing. For me, I like something that's in the mid-range. You get into the 210, 220s, like I said before when I did the Cerberus review, a good weight is 300 or below. But if I'm sitting at 3 grams, if I'm at 350, I kind of like it. Is my flight time is good? Maybe not. But it goes where I put it. I don't have to worry about wind as much, and little sparrow fart type of breezes and things like that. I personally like a heavier bird. I think they're easier to dial in. I think they're easier to control. I think they're easier to cut the air with. That's just me. I don't know if that's right or wrong or indifferent, but I don't like, I've flown quads that had, you know, big V8 engines on the sides, and they weighed absolutely fucking nothing. Actually, that one Hellbender, I think it's this guy, weighs well, let's weigh it out. I weighed this in my review, but let's do it again just for fun. The scale tells no lies. All up 280. That's pretty light considering this has T motors on it. This thing, this will blend some carrots, man. That'll fucker quick. But I honestly probably like the way my other Hellbender flies better, which is like at 315. That's just me though. So is heavier better? Does it fly faster? Does it? It's on how you fly. And I know that's not good advice. I'm just kind of like, oh, thanks, dude. That fucking just confused me even more. But I say if you're a beginner and you're getting into it, don't worry about your weight. You will get better fly times, but it's not going to help you much if you can't control the fucking thing and it ends up in a 3-story tree. So I like a little bit of tail on mine. That's just me. Something else to consider with with your build, what are you putting in it? Are you putting in bullet ESCs? Are you putting in all-in-one ESCs? Do you have the room to put an extra all-in-one ESC in it? Or are you going to be putting bullets on the sides? I've got plenty of birds, my Hellbenders, my D215, my frog, one of my frogs, that have 4-in-1 ESCs. Is it better? Is it worse? Yes, 4-in-1 ESC is lighter, but if you blow one, unless you're using one of those modular ones, you have to replace the whole thing. With these birds, if you blow one, you just replace the one, but again, it weighs more. You have more componentry. Not a hell of a lot more. I think it's so negligible. These people go by the gram. Okay, if you're doing a little tiny fucking brushless dude like this, hang on, sure, then every single gram counts. If you're racing in a race for the cup, sure, every gram counts. But for 90% of us out there that are just having fun, which you should be doing, and just flying around and having a good time, fucking don't worry about the grams, dude. Seriously, it's like the difference between dating and being married. If you marry the hot chick, you can put on a couple pounds. If you're still dating and looking for her, make sure you look good. It's one of those types of things. Make sure you have fun with this stuff. Not everything's about weight. And that's really about it. You know, aluminum. People think, oh, well, that's the new fad. I mean, look at this. Purple 215, aluminum. Frog, aluminum. D215, aluminum. Flag 100, aluminum. Flag 130, aluminum. Who else has got aluminum? I'm sure there's a bunch more that I don't even have. Is it better? I think so. Is it heavier? I think so. But aluminum, or aluminium for our friends in Europe, this shit holds up. If you crash this bitch head first into the cement, guess what's not going to break? The aluminum. If you take a Hellbender that's made out of 100% carbon fiber, guess what's going to break? The carbon fiber. But you pay a price. Aluminum is heavier. Excuse me. Fucker. Aluminum is heavier than carbon fiber. Hands down. Okay. Poor boy. So, I like aluminum because, honestly, I fly like an idiot. I hit shit constantly. I am not a Mr. Steel. I fly like a bag of ass. I build way better than I fly. So I would rather have something that I'm not going to have to repair every fucking time I come home than have something the opposite way. But that's just, you know, again, personal choice. These are just things to go through and say, hey guys, here's the pros and cons. I'm going to leave you with one last thing. A great piece of advice, and I said this in my other video, but I really think I need to hit it better. A good piece of advice, and I want to say, what's that cat's name? The really good guy from Australia that flies. Denial Flight, or, you know, shit. I'm not going to redo this whole video, just Final Glide. I'm sorry. Totally sorry. I think he's a good cat. Seems like a good cat anyway. And he's a phenomenal pilot. I think it was him that said a long time ago, and I don't usually watch the pilot guys. I really don't, because I'm not really interested in watching other people fly fucking amazing. I mean, it's cool to watch once in a while, but really, it's a once in a while type of thing. But anyway, Final Glide said, I think, he said, the best advice I can give you is to take one bird, or quad, out into the field and fly that bird all the fucking time. And I said this in my video the other day. I think it was when I did the review of the Cerberus. And I said that there's this one piece of advice that I never took. That was it. And he's right, because you get used to it. It's like a motorcycle. It's like you're a lady's ass. It's like whatever it is. You will get used to the dynamics of how this flies. And I was one of those guys, and still am to a point, where it's like, oh, I just want 35 quads on my wall, and I want to just keep experimenting and build with all these different types of, all these different types of things. And that's cool. But the problem is, one, the maintenance is a nightmare. And two, you don't get used to any particular style or setting. You might not think that this $80 frame flies that much difference than the poor boy, but they do. But it's almost subliminal, all right, or subconsciously. And what I do recommend you do is always build two. whether 2 great ones or a poor boy and a nice one, whatever you need to do. 2 poor boys, whatever. Flying's flying, kids. Wheels are wheels, as we say in a biker world. But what I do recommend you do is have a favorite and focus on that favorite. Focus on flying it. Focus on upgrading it. It's like if you think, wow, for $210, I can go build another bird. Or for $210, I can get a badass flight controller and new motors for my bird. I would do that. And that's something I didn't do until actually within maybe since the beginning of summer. And I've been doing this for 3 years, more than 3 years maybe. And I was always building extra quads and trying different flight boards and trying all this and, you know, all this sort of stuff. And you can see it. That's why I'm not the best pilot in the world. And that's why I'm always sitting there fucking on the bench doing things. If you learn your bird, you will be better with your bird. And it's the same thing. Carry your spare. You know, poor boy, put them in the car. Just keep them there for when you destroy your good one. And that's really good advice. It's not my advice. That came from Final Glide, I believe. And he's right, because you get used to it. You get, you know, even Mr. Steele, I think he flies some old bag of ass frame, whatever that popular, it almost looks like something like that, I think. I don't know what it is. But, you know, that dude's been flying the out-of-date frame, which is fine, for a very long time because he's used to it, he knows it, he understands what's going to happen with it, and that's why that fucker's so good. I'm telling you, money in the bank. It's good math. So, anyway, I've rambled on long enough. If you guys have any questions on frames, I have built a ton of fucking quads. Of normal quads and micro brushless and micro brush and drones and all these other things. So if you guys have any questions at all on frames, chances are good I have built one of at least the same style you're looking at. Yeah, I mean, really, guys? Look at that. Who builds these fucking things from scratch, right? Y4s? So I'll be glad to help you out if you guys need a hand. So hopefully this helped a couple of you guys out. And please, if you have any questions, let me know. Have a great rest of the weekend. Fly, have fun, enjoy your family, and